It's me, named Sony. Welcome back to the How It Works series. Now, it's been a while since the last video I made on the subject. It's been a few months actually since I last did a How It Works video, and the last video I was making on the subject, or in this sort of series, was about Half-Life Alyx and its hand physics system. So in the first video I'd mentioned how I would talk about these things in the games and then make an attempt to recreate them to prove the concepts that I was discussing in the videos. So that's what I did. Now in the last time you saw this project itself, so this is the same project I used in the last recreation video, where I was describing Half-Life Alyx's movement system, where it would sort of collide with objects around you and then allow you to move through them if you're not pressing buttons and not pushing the joystick or anything like that. I also described how it would detect when to do the fade out based on whether your head went through an object, like so. You can see my body would not physically be able to do this, but when the head goes through, the fade out would appear. The videos after that though, I hadn't done any of the hand physics stuff, and I described how the hand physics works in the game, which is the first thing we should talk about actually is the hands themselves. Now you can see they are full physics objects, and as you could see before, I'm able to push things about as well. There we go, push things about. Brilliant. So they're full physics objects, however, they're not always looking like they're active physics. Because, as I described in the game videos, when you are pushing on an object without moving, without fake moving, you're allowed to do this while you're in room scale, because you're always room scale moving, but when you're not pushing the joysticks, the hands will stay completely full physics and get stuck on things and push themselves and try to go through the wall. You can see here my controller is pure tracking and the hand itself is the physics object. So you can see it gets stuck on the wall. However, when you move, it doesn't seem to do that. It does exactly what it does in the actual game, where it traces from where your head is. In this case, it's a little bit lower than the head, but it traces from where the head is to where the controller is, and it produces a point on the surface, whatever surface it hits, where the hand will just jump to. So as you can see here, when I'm moving, the hand just jumps to the surface that it hits. Brilliant. And that means that if the hands do get stuck, for example here, let's just move and put the hand behind there, and you can see the hand is stuck. Now, the hand is stuck there. When my tracking is here, the hand simply jumps through as soon as I start moving. And that only happens when we're fake moving, when we're moving like this. And that is there to actually fix a few problems, natural problems with physics. First one being, of course, having the hand get stuck behind objects. Sometimes you could open a drawer, put your hand in, close the drawer, and now your hand is stuck inside the drawer. Because as I described before, there aren't any arms or anything like that. It's just entirely physics hands, right? So there's no arm there. The wrist is we use it as a pocket in the actual game. As a result, you can get your hands stuck. So getting them unstuck, very simply put, they just skip the whole process. They just say, hey, your hands are not even physics when you're moving using the joystick. So if you wanted to get your hand unstuck from something in the game, you simply move the joystick a little tiny bit and boom, it just comes straight out. There we go, instantly. Now, the same thing applies when you're holding physics objects. Now, I haven't replicated the game exactly because I kind of did this yesterday, pretty much most of the work. I did do a little bit of it the last time I was working on this project, which was a few months ago, but most of the physics work I just did yesterday and had a little bit of trouble doing it as well, which is why I made the video today. So there we go. So this is a very basic system. This is basically the absolute most basic physics-based hand systems you can make. And all it does is grab objects, and that's all. Now, I haven't replicated the hand physics thing, the overriding of the hand's position, with the physics objects as well. So as a result, you can see what actually happens to the hands if we're not doing that thing with the fake movement. Now look carefully, Sorry about that. The microphone probably made a loud noise there. Just moving my headset. Now look carefully at the hand when I move around in room scale. Can you see how it lags a little bit behind the controller? It doesn't look like it when I'm moving my hand around nice and easily, but you can see that the hand itself lags a little bit. That's because in the world of physics, no object can move instantly. They always have to accelerate to the velocity that they're going to. And of course, in VR, a player movement system, generally you try and protect against motion sickness by moving things instantly. Click, 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 click. Instant movement. Which is why the hands, technically, this is physically impossible. It's impossible for me to instantly accelerate like this and have a hand perfectly synchronized with the controller tracking. Which is why when I do it without that, when I don't have that clever stuff going on with the hands, you can see here that the object lags like a lot more than is pretty clear, isn't it? It's pretty obvious. And that, it doesn't just apply with a heavy object. It doesn't matter how light the object is. Here you can see pretty much light enough for me to move almost instantly. And you can see here, with my tracking, even the hand itself lags. However, once I start moving, there you go. Only the physics object lags, because this is still full physics. I haven't done the hand thing yet. And the hand itself just overrides its position. So there we go. When I'm moving around without any fake movement, you can see the lag on those hands. Whereas as soon as I start fake moving, there we go. It's just overriding the position. This is a natural habit of physics. Now, in my own proper systems, I've done a lot of work to actually get this minimized very, very, very close to the tracking. And especially when you're moving, that lag is no longer there. I've done a lot of work on that stuff. But that's not what this is about. This is about how to protect against that in the simplest way, and this is what they were doing. They were researching that very concept. Now there's more to it than that as well. Let's go grab that box and show you something that I couldn't show you in the last recreation video, but it wasn't part of the grabbing system itself. Here you can see that I collide with the box when I walk into it. However, of course, when you're holding an object, colliding with it would be a real problem, because there's no physical connection between your person, your player, and the object itself. So as a result, they just become completely non-collidable. Now that means that I can stand inside of it. Here I've let go of the box while I'm standing inside of it. As you can see, I haven't been pushed out. And the reason for that is I haven't told the game that I'm allowed to be pushed out until I joystick move. There we go, instantly get thrown out of the object. And there's more to it than that, because the same thing applies with gravity. Here we go. Let's just drop a box here. In fact, I could have just used any box. But yeah, so now I haven't done a mantling system, but I'm going to try and stand on this box by faking it. All I have to do is give it a little slant and then walk up the slant. There we go. So yeah, a little bit of work to do to make the slanted objects be logically handled. But as you can see, this box I'm now standing on top of. And obviously if I walked off, I'd fall down. However, if I now grab the box and throw it away, and you can see I did this in the game as well, you can see I'm still standing off the ground, which you can tell by the shadows as well of these spheres. One showing the center of my tracking space, one showing the center of me, where I'm standing, so basically underneath the head. And you can see I'm not falling until I tell the game that I'm okay for it to do any sort of fake movement. Anything that isn't actually happening from real world tracking is fake movement, and that will cause motion sickness if you're not prepared for it. As a result, the game will only do this when I tell it to. So if I move the joystick, I'm telling it I can fake move, instantly start falling. Exactly how the actual game works. And you can see the slanting problem here that I've got in my own little rebuild here. There we go. It doesn't care about the slantedness of an object. Yeah, that's my system. That's just me being building things really quickly. There you go. This is a pretty much recreation of the concepts that I wanted to discuss in the hand physics videos. There's still a lot to go. I could have done the teleporting and stuff like that. But a lot of these things, they're very simple stuff anyway. There's a little bit of complexity to them. Pretty good stuff there. But I don't know, it depends. It's not as fun to rebuild that stuff as it is to rebuild the movement system itself. I do love building movement systems. A lot of this stuff is based on what I wrote for the Mario 64 Reimagined project as well, so I learned so much about how to build a movement system and collision systems without using existing components for that project. Anyways, thanks very much for watching this. I hope it gave you a little bit more of an understanding of how simple this stuff really can be, and how to really just sort of take a little bit of complexity, like a little bit of a sort of physics object grabbing and all of that, and just protect against the little problems that we have, and how to use the little bits and bats to make those things feel really good in a VR game. Now again, it's not the same sort of concepts that I would go for with my games, because I'm going for a full physics world and a full physics character controller, full physics hands all the time. It's a very different concept. But this works in that way. This works quite well, in fact, to do what it tries to do, which is build a very base system for movement that considers locomotion sickness, considers all the little locomotion options that you might need, and puts it all together with a little bit of physicality to the world. Even though it doesn't do what it could do, it does just sort of the basic level of interaction to make it look good and feel good, and that's it. And this is something you can do really, really easily. I put together most of this stuff in an overall time of about a week from the most basic system, just building this little basic area. Super duper easy to do. Anyways, thanks very much for watching. I'm gonna keep rambling otherwise if I don't stop the video now. So that is the end of this video. Think of another game to talk about now, and I'll move on to the next one. Probably be Boneworks or something, even though I've got systems that are similar to that already, and I do often describe how the things work. Not exactly, but I do describe how those things work anyway. But yeah, there might be other games. Again, this is not entirely to do with VR. I'll be doing any type of game. I'll be describing using this series, my How It Works series. Thanks very much for watching. That is the end of this video. I don't want to keep on rambling. Goodbye.